Sonicstate here at Superbooth 2019 with Rob from Toraiz. So, before we look at the Squid, just want to say, Toraiz now is the brand, is the name, because it was previously branded as Pioneer DJ, as on some of these other mods. But now, just for clarity, Toraiz is the name for the production wing.
Exactly that. Yeah. Right. So Pioneer DJ is our DJ kit, our legacy name, and then everything in the production area going forward will be branded as Toraiz.
So the Squid is the first sort of one where we can't see Pioneer DJ written anywhere. So
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. No, I mean that's cool. That kind of creates a lot more kind of clarity, I think, in terms of the focus of what Toraiz is aimed at, which is production.
Exactly that. It was a bit confusing with our previous units with the SP16 and the AS1. Right. There was many logos, Dave Smith, Pioneer DJ, Toraiz. Right. So with just the solid Toraiz branding now, every users will know that everything that's branded Toraiz will be a production piece of kit, not sitting in the Pioneer DJ ecosystem as such. It's a producer's tool for broadband producers. Yeah.
Excellent. And so the Squid, which I have to say, I like the name Squid. I think it's great. The Toraiz Squid is a sequencer. There's no sounds coming out of this, purely MIDI and gates and CV. Yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah. No internal sounds. It's a driving force and an ideas machine for producers. So that's where the name Squid came from. We envisaged all these the tentacles. Yeah. 2 MIDI outs, USB MIDI for connection to your DAW, control over VSTs, connection to the Squid manager software as well, so you can export MIDI clips, import MIDI clips. Then 2 tracks of CV gate, clock in, clock out, for sending clock to the modular kit or any other clock independent source or receiving clock, and also DIN sync as well. Just allowing the legacy owners, the the 808, the 909 users can sync connection to their old school legacy hardware.
Okay, so as an overview then, what have we got? It's a 16 track sequencer?
Yeah, exactly. So you've got your global section at the top where you can record what you're doing, record automation, play and stop, navigate the screens using the main encoder, and this really cool little time warp feature which we should mention later. Okay. Then everything to the right, this is the bread and butter sequencer stuff. So it's a 16 track, we're in track mode at the minute, 16 track, 8 voice polyphony per track sequencer, and many modes of the pads which you'd operate down here. So whether you're in track mute mode for turning tracks on and off, or accessing one of the 64 patterns per track, or working in scale mode. So if we turn a scale on, you can see you've got, I believe, 24 scales to choose from. And
any custom scales?
Not customized scales, but we've got the really popular ones and that we deemed users like. So you can see we're in harmonic minor. Right. If we scan through Japanese scale, raga scales, minor blues, major blues, altered, many different options. And you can see on the pads where you would be playing chromatically. You're now playing in scale mode. Only
so these being the black notes then.
Exactly that. Or no, these would jump to the nearest scaled in tune pad
I gotcha.
that you would be pressing. You can also transpose sequences in real time, and then I guess when you get to trigger mode, that's really when you get to the step sequencer options. So the real bread and butter sequencer capabilities. I'm just going to turn the drums down there so you can't hear what's going on. But as soon as you hit play. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit with my hands. But as soon as we hit play, there's no sounds running, but you can see we're in sequence mode now. And because we're in a square grid, you've got multiple running directions. We've actually got 48 running directions for each track, per track, which are all accessed on the running directions over here. So I'll get some sounds running in a second and jump through these. But everything to the left, everything you're seeing over here, that is the real USP Squid functionality. The groove bend, the speed modulation, the 48 running directions, melodic control, and the rhythmic control, which is kind of taken almost like from the CDJ, the Pioneer DJ CDJ DNA. It's like a slip loop on the CDJs. If we jump into track view, there's actually a track running underneath this, but everything's muted out. So if I jump to track mute and start turning some things on, First of all, I've got a backing beat running on the Volca drum over here, which we turn on, and this is great. Of course, I shouldn't be talking about other brand stuff, but this is multi-timbral, so you could sequence every drum from this, but at the moment it's just receiving a start-stop signal.
Right.
And then start turning on the modular kit. So track 1 is my kick drum on the modular, track 2, track 3, track 4, there's just some percussion stuff. And then when you jump into, let's say track 11, that's my bass and my lead track. So instantly, let's jump to track 12 and jump to triggers, and you can see what's going on here. So I'm just adjusting volumes up on the modular. But this lead sound you're hearing, that's been programmed in on the pads here. If I change the running direction, only the running direction of the lead sound is changing now.
Right, and the running direction, in this case, it's running down.
It's running downwards.
Yeah, downwards.
If we've got all active pads, it's a bit easier to see. So running in zigzag, or sorry, snake.
So active pad, does that let you then sort of just kind of shorten the step amounts and on a per track basis, so you can get sort of...
Per track, exactly, or per pattern. So I did say, like, on patterns, we can have 64 patterns per track, and there's loads in here already. If I jump to pattern 10, you'll straight away hear a different riff, because we've been playing around. We'll stick on pattern 1 and jump back to the triggers. Yeah, this active steps, if we remove, say, 3 steps, we've got a polyrhythm running straight away. And you've also got count and divide over here.
Oh, neat.
In fact, the best way to do it would be to go to pattern, specify a new track so you're not hearing anything, and then show you, of course, you can instantly program some steps like so really easily. And each of these steps can be globally adjusted, so you pitch or gate, or velocity, which won't work in this instance, or count and divide. So if I increase the count, every step is going to last for 3 steps now. So it's going to run a lot slower. Again, working with polyrhythms. So if you have every count running on 1 and we change this count to 2, it's running at a slower value, just that step. But change it to 4. Instant weird rhythms going on there, and let's divide that into 4.
So can you adjust when you change, say, pattern? Can you sort of like kind of jump in? Can you set it so it has to wait until the pattern's complete? Can you kind of legato it? Just sort of immediately switch.
You can. So default mode, it will jump to the previous or to your pattern at the end of this pattern. Yeah. But if you hold down Shift, it will instantly change.
Oh, okay.
So you could come up with some pretty gnarly sequences and melodies by holding Shift.
Can you record that?
You can't record pattern change.
Okay.
Not yet. This has been launched. I would like to think little things that we receive feedback for, we can add in firmware updates. Who knows? I'm really hoping that is the way this something we can implement with this unit.
If one track can feed another track and record the output of one track into another track.
Exactly that. So let me just take out a few of them steps just to keep it polyrhythmic.
Okay, now this has caught my eye. This groove bend.
Everyone's asking about this, yeah. I guess it's quite prominent on the hardware, right?
It is sprung.
Sprung loaded, almost like a little crossfader cap here. So the way this works, I believe this is completely industry first. I've seen similarities in software and VST platforms, but I've never seen this on a piece of hardware. Okay. And the way this works is, as you pull the groove bend to the left, it slows down the playhead, and the current playhead triggers will slow down. And when you release, they'll spring forward. So you can cut, and the same if you go fast. If you go to the right, it will speed it up. You're pushing the playhead forward, and of course this can be recorded as well. So you come up with these weird. If you catch it on like a very fast section, you come up with these weird, unique rhythms. Let's record some in, and you'll hear that. So I'm just gonna. And you get a red light to indicate that that's been automated. It's a bit tricky for us to hear in this, but you can probably hear on the camera through the feed that rhythm and the groove has completely been changed. So it's like manual groove control.
Okay, interesting.
You can remove that really easily as well. If you hold copy and paste, that gives you your delete. Right. Remove that functionality. And it's basically like a manual version of swing, manual swing control, or even more accurate, manual speed modulation. this is kind of doing what the groove bend does, but over a period of time, like over a mod length that you set. At the minute it's 16 steps. Let's put all the active steps back in so you can see it.
Are these things affecting globally or on a per track basis?
Per track, not only per track, per pattern. So you could have speed modulation running. If I increase this speed modulation, you'll hear, or you'll see, and you'll visually see, and you'll hear that. Let's take this to default. Hit stop just to reset that. So you're seeing it's really strange behaviour. The playhead is cycling through at a triangle rate. Okay. So it's going really fast at certain elements and going really slow at certain elements.
And the shape, I guess, governs that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's change the shape to sine and it'll be a bit more smooth. And what you'll find with this is if you've got 16 steps, it sounds too chaotic. Not for my music anyway. You know, I'm a house and techno guy, so I don't want stuff going out of time. But if you'll find certain areas where you'll have steps do sound great, and using the speed modulation, you'll find a groove with that pattern and with that instrument that you wouldn't otherwise think to program. So it's pretty out there. You can achieve some really nuts results, or you can rein it in and have some simple results with it as well.
So things like switchback then, things like that will take you back to like maybe the default what you've set in the pattern, or you mess around and...
Not quite. So switchback's part of the running direction. Okay. So if we're standardly running forward, if we create... This is a 1-bar loop. It can be a 4-bar loop if we want it to be, but I tend to work in 1 bars. If I hit switchback, it will complete the cycle and then go in reverse. So it's like ping pong, essentially. Gotcha. If you wanted to do what you did, what you mentioned just there, you can hit shift and press record, which gives you undo.
And it'll jump back to you. Right. So
and not only will it jump back, you can hold undo and you enter this steps.
Oh, history.
Yeah, almost like a history. So you can go forward or backwards.
And then when you release, then it'll happen.
Exactly that. So you can see we've gone back like 20 steps there really quickly.
Interesting.
Time Machine works in a similar way as well. It's almost like there's a buffer going on. Right. So if we were to go to a blank pattern 16, there are another 4 pages of patterns.
Right, so you can go 64 steps.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 64 patterns.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So if we're in scale mode now, and we're playing the further generator chromatically. Let's put a scale on.
Right. Okay, so time warp. What's going on here? What's this about?
Yeah, okay, so this enables you to, as it kind of says on the tin, you're stepping back in time. So for instance, let's say I'm going to open up a blank pattern on the further generator track. Okay. So let's say you're in scale mode and you are playing this. Turn the scale on, so it's we'll go for harmonic minor. Let's say I'm chromatically playing.
And we're not in record at the moment, so you're just playing away.
Exactly that, yeah. Record is off, and let's say I really like something I play. What I can do is think, I can step back in time, go hit time warp, and then depending which pad I press will be how far I step back in time.
So going back in bars, back in time.
Exactly that. Yeah. I mean, this being 1 bar, this 2 bar, 3 bar, let's go back 8 bar. See, it's picking up what I played, or it's playing what I played 8 bars ago. Let's go back 7 bars, and if you want nothing there, and you can create 4-bar patterns if you want. But I've got it set to be on 1 bar.
Okay.
And then what you do, find something that sounds a bit nicer, a bit weird, but whatever.
That's all right.
We can hit pattern.
Yeah.
Jump to a blank page. Save this. Save that as a pattern.
Okay.
Come out of time warp. Then in pattern mode, I've got that saved.
Great. So I noticed we got probability settings as well.
Yeah.
How's that implemented?
Really simple, really handy. As soon as you turn this on, it's default set at 50%. So as soon as I turn this on, the triggers in this in this pattern will be completely randomly, some of them dismissed, some of them played.
At a 50% sort of ratio.
Yeah, and you can change it. Shift and trig prob, change it up on the main screen to, I don't know, 75 or 80%, bit less destructive. And it just literally works out at a ratio to leave out certain triggers.
Okay, but can you go to one particular trigger and set a percentage on, like,
Specific triggers? No, you can't, but that's a great idea.
Okay.
I'll note that one down.
All right.
Currently, it's just overall on the pattern.
Okay, well, that's still really cool. Arpeggiator, and is that available for every track?
Yeah, man, yeah, so this works fully. If we jump to track 8, which is currently muted, I'll unmute it. I believe it's the peak over here. So we've got the peak running. In fact, that is an arpeggiated part. But what we'll do, go to pattern, make sure I'm on the right track, create a new pattern. So the ARP's really simple, just went in scale mode with ARPs on. We can play 5 notes simultaneously.
Can you latch
notes? Yeah, so you'd hit record, turn record on, and there you go.
Cool.
Straight in there. Did I show you the harmonizer?
Oh, well, but then we could shift and go into the settings for various ARP
Exactly that. Go into ARP settings, and you've got, I've got it set to ARP. You've got various options: up, down, up and down, random. So let's jump to random.
Great.
That's the thing, since I've been working on this, I've been using the randomization functions and the polyrhythmic stuff. It just creates, it helps you create music in a much more random aspect, which a lot less.
But you've still got a lot of control over the degree of randomization.
Exactly that.
Yeah, so you said about the harmonizer, that sounds interesting. What's going on there?
Yeah, so at the minute we've got an arpeggiated part running. So it should work actually if we stay in scale mode. In fact, if I hit stop, just to show you what is actually going on here, turn ARP off. So that's triggering, let's put a bit of release and sustain on that. I'm triggering a note on the peak. These are, of course, it's polyphonic. So we've got 8 voice polyphony. So these are like shortcuts to chords. And I've actually edited them, and I've changed that one to be the same as that for some reason during a demo, but we can change that.
Right.
So you've got instant preset chords here, which you can choose as well. If I hold shift and choose harmonizer 4, it jumps into the editing option here, and you've got a whole host of different chords, and you can create your own chords if you want to edit these. Let's say that's 7/9.
And these will follow any rule that you've set within the scale. The chords.
Yeah, they'll all be in scale.
Yeah, great.
Let's add another note into that by holding shift, take one out, put one in. It's like simple, and then it becomes a 9. It tells you what that chord is. That's a 7/9. That is 7#9. Yeah, I don't know music theory, so I'm assuming these are the right words for the chords.
Yeah.
But when you jump into when you assign notes that don't fall into any of the chords that are already set in there, it comes up with user.
Oh, okay.
So you specified a user preference chord. But whilst that's playing, let's turn that down a touch. Don't stay in scale mode. You can instantly record that in as well, so jump to chords.
Okay.
Put ARP on, change the scale.
Yeah.
You've also got, when you're talking about the harmonizer and the polyphonic stuff, you've got chord progressions. So the shift function of scale is chord mode. Now the 16 pads, each one of these will play a chord that falls into the chosen progression. So 19 progressions to choose from. So, for example...
so these will be essentially a collection of preset chords in the different... and then you can choose when you move. I guess if I was to play, can I just see?
Yeah, go for it.
And then you could sequence your own chord progression.
Change the chord progression.
God, that's like early 90s kind of. It's taking me back. Let's
record that in.
Yeah.
Jump to a new pattern.
I'm thinking of some kind of grimy like warehouse in South London.
Who don't like a grimy warehouse in South London? And it's recorded them in there.
Okay. Cool.
So only 2 chords there from the progression, but you can see what's being played.
Yeah.
And you can hold shift and delete. You could remove certain notes. So I haven't talked about copy and paste, but it's really simple. If you wanted to copy patterns, copy triggers, copy most of the information. But if you can do copy and paste, but if you hold delete whilst the sequence is playing, you can remove the current notes that are playing from that.
Okay,
from that chord as well.
So how about like a song mode? Is there some kind of like kind of made, like top level song mode?
There's not an arrangement mode as such, not an official song mode, but we've created a new version which I believe is much better. So patterns, which we've jumped onto loads of times, we've shown you how to jump through patterns of different tracks. If you hold shift, you can access pattern sets.
Right.
So this is what I found on the SP16 when I was using song mode, is it was great if you wanted to create an arrangement and then play it and just let it run. But I found that very limiting, because I didn't want to. You don't always want to switch from the breakdown to the chorus at that point.
That linear,
Exactly. You don't always want it to drop there.
Yeah.
When you're using it live, this is far more advantageous for the way I perform, and I believe once people see this, they're going to find this much more usable, much more user-friendly.
Cool.
But essentially, if you've got a series of patterns running, like this series of patterns, hold shift and press pattern set and save that as a pattern set. Now, when you're in pattern set mode, that is that section of the arrangement. If I come out of that now and go back in, for instance, if I jump to this, you're going to hear something completely different, because mutes work with this as well.
So it'll remember the mute stage when you put it into the pattern set.
Exactly that. Yeah. This little stage here, these 3 pattern sets, is like a very simple arrangement of I can't remember what's in it, but that's a very basic intro. Something going on there with the drums, and then I believe the bass comes in here. If it's set up in the same way it was earlier. If I jump to here, you'll hear something completely different. Different patterns running and different mute states running together. So a manual way of jumping through your arrangements, which for live use is, from our research, we've deemed that to be much more beneficial.
So I mean, like live and real-time manipulation is what this is all about, as opposed to someone who maybe wants to put together a linear. Send them to their computer. This is all about playing and performing. Yeah?
Both. You know, you play and perform, and then you record that into your DAW. You know, the stuff I've shown you on the groove bend, and in fact, the majority of the stuff here, I'll record 6 minutes of an instrument running into Ableton, and you've got this crazy patterns and gnarly steps that you wouldn't program. Then you can go in and edit it after.
And edit after.
Yeah.
Okay,
and of course, if your sound card's good enough, you can track all that. If you've got enough inputs, you can track it all at once. I think it's more. I see this falling more into the studio use, but there's only because there's less live acts. Live acts are going to go bananas for this as well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so availability? Available now?
Available now from all your solid retailers, MI stores. Really amazing price point on this from the get-go. Get yourselves down to the stores, have a play with it. Hopefully you can do a detailed video as well as we go forward. Yeah.
And what was it? What's the price?
So €599.
Okay, nice. A lot in there. Rob, thanks very much.
My pleasure.
Really cool.
Good to meet you.
Yeah.